So my family and I are on this flight and we start to smell smoke. And my oldest son, who's sitting next to me, looks at me for reassurance. And about that time, the pilot's voice comes across the intercom and says, "Flight attendants, prepare for emergency descent." I'm kind of startled by this. Like I've never heard that on a plane. And all right, what is happening here? And the thing is, this is not a video about a flight. This is actually a video about focus and how one decision can make or break your business. But to share that lesson and the reframe for me, I want to take you back to this jet, to this flight, because that's what started it all. It's a small regional plane. Like my wife and two kids are on here. We're leaving DFW. It's nighttime and we're one of the later flights out. So we take off and we get about 5 minutes into the flight and we hear a boom. It's not an explosion. It's not something dropping, but it's just not something that you want to hear when you're, I don't know, 10, 20,000 feet in the air. With that as the only data point, we go, all right, so we keep flying. But then we start to smell smoke. First, it's really faint, and then it starts to get more pungent, or whatever the hell you call it, like, so we can smell it more and more. And I'm starting to get concerned and, kind of looking around. And my oldest son's looking at me, and I kind of glance at my wife sitting behind me. About that time, the pilot's voice comes across the internet, and that's when he says, "Flight attendants, prepare for emergency descent." I'm thinking, emergency descent? We're going to try to glide this thing into a open field, or what the hell is going on? Like, I have no idea. The oxygen masks pop down, and I, out of order, I don't follow instructions. I put this on my son. I turn around, make sure my wife's putting on my youngest son. Now, good news is my youngest son is somewhat oblivious to this. Like, he's watching his movie and he's, playing his games, and he's like, all right, like, why do I have to put this thing on? We get the oxygen masks on, and the pilot comes on and says, "Hey, we're gonna be turning around. We have to land. We're going back to Dallas." And I didn't know at that time he had already turned the plane, right? Because at that point I didn't feel any banking after that. So we come back into Dallas, and the thing is, because it's nighttime, it looks like a fucking crime scene, right? Like, as you come in, you see lights everywhere, fire trucks, ambulances, cops, and we hit the ground. And instead of slowing down, we just keep rolling, like hauling ass. I've never gone this fast on a runway before. You can hear the sirens. We can hear stuff behind us. The fire trucks, everything's chasing the plane. And I know DFW pretty well. I just realized, all right, we're at E38. They've put us as far out as you can imagine, in the airport. And I'm like, all right, so I'm nervous. And I mean, from the point of being told we're emergency descent to this, the whole thing is scary, scarier in the air, but we're now hauling ass. And all right, they're putting us out into as far as they can for a reason, right? Here's where the lesson really starts to kick in. All the first responders kind of swarm to the plane, and they don't come for us. They don't come to get us off the plane. They head to the luggage, and you can see they're chucking shit out of the hole, they're clearly going for something. Get me off the plane, right? It's like, if there is something on the plane, get me off the plane. And, I'm not going to lie, at some point I thought, I'll just fucking do it, right? I'm get my family out of here. This is nuts. So I kind of sit there patiently, calmly. The whole time I'm playing it cool, right? I understand my wife and my sons are looking at me. So the whole time I'm saying, it's all right. It's all right. And inside, it's like a duck on the surface, pretty calm, and underneath, paddling like crazy. They eventually get what they need from the luggage. They get us off the plane. Before we even got inside, I'm getting stuff from the airlines like, hey, free this and free that, without even making a phone call. So clearly something's up. But I'm talking to my sister about this the other day, and she's a paramedic. She's been a first responder her whole life, and her husband is the fire chief in the city that they live in. And we're talking about this, and I'm sharing my experience of us sitting there on the plane. And I remember, and I'm telling her, thinking, yeah, and they didn't come for us. Isn't that wild? Isn't that dumb? Depends on what was going on. Obviously, you need to know a little bit more information. But she said, if you have a live threat, if you have a live problem and you've got limited resources, you send all your resources at the problem. If they split and have half the people trying to get all of you off the plane, and then the other half trying to get the thing, it probably slows down the progress that they're going to make over here, or makes it less likely that they get it, like whatever is going on. It was like at that moment we have this conversation and the lesson hit me. She's absolutely right. Like this is about triage. This is about prioritization. This is about understanding that you have limited resources as a first responder. You've got to very quickly assess the situation and say, with this limited pool of resources, where do we put it? Like what's going to have the greatest impact at keeping those people safe? Is it actually trying to get them off the plane, or is it actually just sending everybody after the thing? That's basically your job as a CEO. Like at the end of the day, as a CEO, what do? We allocate resources. Like that is our number one job. That's actually our core job. Whether those resources are our time and our money, if we're in a small business, like a micro business, solopreneur, or those resources are our team, other capital that we have coming in, time, energy of everyone else. Like we have all of these resources, and our job is to say, where do I point these things to have the greatest impact? Do I point them at marketing? Do I point them at sales? Do I point them at, client success? Do I point them on, wherever that is, right, in your business? We oftentimes dilute our resources, right? Like we say, gosh, we've got this fire and this fire, metaphorical fire in our case, like this fire and this fire and this fire. Let me send a little bit over here and a little bit over here and a little bit over here. And what I'll do is I'll solve multiple problems simultaneously, instead of taking the time to sit down and think, what's the biggest problem? The biggest impact on the rest of the business, right? Like if that single thing probably actually eliminates the fact that 9 of these fires are starting in the first place. And I'm as guilty as this as anybody. I'm impatient. I'm ambitious. I want maximum results. I want everything fast. And it's easy to make the mistake of thinking, let's address all of these things, right? Let's take all these opportunities. I understand I can't do everything. So these are our 5 priorities for the month. And the challenge is that by doing that, what you do is you distribute the limited pool of resources that you have, which then either reduces the probability of success in a specific area, right? Because if I take 5 priorities, I have 1/5 the resources going to that priority that I would have if I put all of my resources on that. On the one hand, I reduce the likelihood of success, even of probability. Even if I'm successful with that thing, I slow down the progress. Even if I'm able to solve that problem, right? Or I'm able to capitalize on that opportunity, because I'm doing it with 1/5 the resources, I'm not going to do it nearly as quickly. And the best CEOs, the best businesses, what they're good at is not tackling all the problems. They're good at identifying the problem to solve. They're good at actually prioritizing, not in name, right? But in actual practice, like taking the time to sit down and understand what is the most important thing that we need to focus on. And that is the hard work. That is the hard part to me of being a CEO. It's understanding I've got 52 problems over here. I've got 7 really good opportunities to capitalize on over here. And I have to look at all these things and say, we're picking one. We're not going to try to tackle 3, 4, 5, 10 of these things at the same time. So that's one aspect of this, right? Is the prioritization, like identifying that thing in the first place. And the good thing is we as CEOs, we have the luxury of spending days or weeks making sure we get that right. Meanwhile, like first responders, like they've got to figure that out in seconds. They've got to figure that out in minutes. We have a luxury that we just don't like to use because we're impatient, but we have the luxury of saying, hold on, let's make sure we get the identification of the priority right? Like let's make sure the focus is absolutely right. Okay, so that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it and lesson in this whole thing was, even when you do identify the priority, you're gonna get criticized, right? So imagine looking out the window going, what are you guys doing? I'm thinking that I know better than the first responders that are doing all of this work, because I know it's important to me. I know it's important to me through my lens, literally through the window that I'm looking at. I know it's important. I want to get off the plane, but that may not be the actual best thing to do to maximize the likelihood of all of us getting off the plane. So they've identified the priority and then they're executing. And when you do that, you're going to face criticism. you're going to have naysayers. You're going to have critics. You're going to have people that say, I know better than you. And really what they're saying is my perspective of that priority is different because I'm coming at this from a different angle. But you as the CEO come at it from the angle. What is best for the business as a whole? And when you choose to focus your limited resources on the thing that you determine to be the most important priority in the business, people are going to question it. People are going to criticize you. People are going to bitch and complain. And that's okay. Sometimes the best thing that you can do to help people, to help the business, is to do something that doesn't seem at first like it's helping the business, right? Or helping from that individual perspective. Like it's a form of leadership, and that's what you do, again, as a CEO. And so identifying that priority and then having the discipline to focus your resources on that priority and maintain that focus through the execution despite the criticism and despite the uncertainty, because we're never 100% sure that that's going to work, right? Like we're making the best bet that we can. And so we're saying, we believe that that is the most important priority. We're going to focus on it. We're going to move the needle on that. Going to have the longest term, best impact on the business. I'm pretty sure. Like we aren't absolutely positive. And by the way, neither are first responders. Like there's no guarantee. There's no way of absolutely guaranteeing that you're right. So there's like this little voice of doubt that's like, but what if I'm wrong? Like what if this isn't the right priority? Maybe what I should do is hedge, right? Like maybe what I should do is add just a couple small prayers. Let's put like 10% of the resources, and like 10 here and 10 here and 10 here, because I'm not absolutely certain that this is the thing. And let me tell you, this is tough, right? It's tough to identify the priority. It's tough to have the confidence to focus on it. And it is tough to maintain the execution on it, despite the criticism and some uncertainty. But that is how you win the game. That is how the best businesses are run. They are focusing on less, but doing better. So that's the lesson that I wanted to share. It was an interesting experience. It was frightening, but it was, good test of character and how you handle things under pressure. So there was that, but the reframe that came from it felt like I internalized that and it resonated and it clicked. So I wanted to share that with you, and I hope that it's been helpful. Now, as far as what it was, I don't know. Like chances are battery or somebody's one wheeler blew up or something. I have no idea. They never actually told us, but everybody was safe. First responders did their job. Shout out to everyone that puts their life on the line to save everybody else's and the people that run towards the burning battery or whatever the hell it was, rather than away from it. So thank you to all of you that do that. And I hope this has been a helpful lesson. If it has, want to hear more, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Adios.